Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to JOECMDRAWZ. Welcome back to a new episode. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be about the project that has taken me literally 5 months to complete. And the reason why I wasn't uploading for so long, my UI UX project called Wave Riders. Let's get into it. Okay, so to start off this project, before we get into the actual final project, I just want to take a look at this kind of experimental page here. It's got all sorts of stuff from blocking out to kind of wireframes and kind of different exploration of the different screens, from kind of modals here and kind of menu screens and tutorial screens and little icons and all sorts of different kind of stuff. So for a little bit of context, a kind of free course came up that had a bunch of different other courses on there, and there was one for UI and UX, and I thought, well, that's something I haven't done before, and I wanted to try it. And I love games, it was a UI UX course for games, and I thought I really want to do that. I love learning about all this kind of stuff, so I wanted to do it. And so I started the course, and this is kind of like an experimental page for all these different kind of things. And one of the assignments were to create a game, more of like an esports orientated game. And I kind of came up with my own idea of this game called Wave Riders. And what you basically had to do was, it was kind of like a mix between Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Fortnite. And how I got this idea was that I was playing through Pokemon Ultra Sun for the first time, and I saw the Mantine surfing game, and I was like, that's a pretty cool concept. That could just be a game on its own, surfing on this kind of giant, kind of endless ocean, and you kind of do tricks on a surfboard to get points. And I thought, well, that's not very esports oriented, is it? So I changed the element where this is where the kind of Fortnite element comes in, is that you can join in a lobby with other people, or a game with other people, and you can choose these different kinds of characters that have all the different kind of attributes and different kind of skills and such, and you can kind of attack people with these different kind of weapons, and you can rack up points that way while also doing tricks. So that's pretty cool. And you can have kind of an end of round screen, or kind of a leaderboard screen and stuff. And there was different kind of lessons in this course, in this free course, about kind of the different elements of UI design and UX design as well. Now, I'm not very much user experience oriented. I'm more of the creative user interface oriented. And I quite like doing stuff, creating different kind of icons and such. And so this is kind of one of the pages that I was experimenting with. As you can see, there's quite a lot here. I was experimenting with all sorts of different stuff, from kind of layout designs, from modal designs, trying out different kind of things, like maybe a HUD design. If you don't know what HUD means, it means heads over display. Yeah, I was just kind of figuring out kind of different things, creating all these different icons myself, trying to do this heads up display. Sorry, I had a brain fart. But yeah, that's kind of my idea. So that's my idea for Wave Riders, and I just kind of worked on this idea for 5 months. I was working on different aspects, from kind of the home screen to kind of loading screens. I tried different things here. We have different tools to color correction, and what kind of colors work better with each other, and what would actually pass and such like that. And again, kind of stuff like this, an end of round or a leaderboard screen, and we would show off in a lesson, and we would get a lot of feedback. Again, here are some kind of layout or wireframe kind of designs, just kind of simplifying everything down on a screen, so you can figure out where things go. And these are kind of some of my early designs for a lot of the different kind of screens, like a character selection screen showing off the speed, the power, and the skill of the character. And here's a tutorial screen, hey, nice moves, want to try again. You got your score at the top right there, and stuff like that. And this is kind of like an options and accessibilities screen. So you would have kind of like audio, subtitles, brightness, camera assist, colorblind mode, and motion sickness assist. And then when you click on one of these, you would get kind of like a modal that would kind of pop up on the screen, and you could kind of like drag these sliders around, and you could select whatever you wanted on here, and you could do like subtitles between English, French, and German. Whether you want your subtitles on or off. And it would change into like a French version. So this is basically just a page for me to basically just kind of like muck around with and try and figure out what I wanted to do. And it was also the same time that I was actually figuring out Figma as a program itself. Here's like a little bit of like my color palette that I was trying to figure out, and here's kind of like a loading screen. What would the loading screen look like in the game and such like that. But yeah, I just wanted to show this off because I didn't want to just show off the final project and say like, oh hey, I didn't take me very long, and I was very good at it, and no I wasn't. I was always trying to constantly practice, always trying to update, and trying to make it the best I could at the time. I got like this updated version of the character select screen. You got like your skills, inventory, and charms, and got a lot of really good feedback from a lot of people that actually like work in games, or kind of have experience of working on games, and it really enlightened me to like just how complicated and how much stuff actually goes into video game screens in general. A website that we used quite a lot was the Game UI database, and I stared at that website for a very long time, looking at all these different kind of screens for lots of different games, trying to get so many like ideas for inspiration. Here it's like there's these many screens for like trying to figure out like, oh well, what are like the inventory screens are going to look like, and the skills screen going to look like, and you have like a stage select screen and such like that. And so I practiced quite a lot on this page, just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. I even have like a controls reminder screen, like trying to, if you're in the middle of a game and you want to kind of remind yourself of how like the controls work. You got WASD to move and P to pause and space to accelerate, and kind of like this is kind of like my HUD design, and it was just basically a practice page to kind of like practice things without actually trying to cram it all onto one page, like the final page and such like that. And even over here I've got kind of like ideas of like what some of these like UI elements would be, like these arrows or sliders, or like the X icon, stuff like that. I would kind of like build different kind of like elements on this page, from like UI elements to like sliders and arrows and such like that. And I would also build like a color palette in this page, and I would kind of like design a screen, and then I would kind of like duplicate it, and I would change something about it, and I would show it off and say like, hey, what do you think of this? Can you give me some feedback on this kind of stuff? So basically it was a really good page to kind of just basically chuck all my ideas about and see what worked and what didn't. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of like show off this page, just to show you how much kind of like planning and actual effort I put into it. And this took me ages, and I really kind of like, even though it's chaotic, I really kind of like the idea that it shows my thought process, and it shows like how much effort I put into here. So if I just go over onto like my actual final kind of page, I'll show that off, and you can kind of like see that. Okay everybody, here's like my final kind of like finalized page, where all the different kind of like finalized screens are on here, and you can see it's a little bit chaotic. If any kind of like actual UI or UX designers were to kind of like see this video and see my absolutely abhorrent kind of organization skills, they would probably die. Or if any kind of like any other kind of like UI artists see this, they'd be like, there's a bunch of problems with this. But this was kind of like my first time doing any kind of like sort of this work, and so I don't really know how to structure my screens, really, to be honest. But yeah, these are all kind of like the screens that you know, make up the entire kind of like prototype for this game. You know, you can see that I've got kind of like a load of ones for like modals on here, which are basically just pop-ups. I've got a lot of like item menus here from kind of like, if I just zoom in here, you've got like profiles. You can kind of create multiple profiles. You can kind of like, you know, you can load your game and it'll take you up here to where your save data is. You can kind of click new game, which will take you over to here, which will let you select a profile. You know, I've got selected and unselected screens here. I've got kind of like a loading screen here. I've got kind of like all these different kind of like pop-ups for like the different menus, from audio, subtitles, brightness, camera assist, colorblind mode, motion sickness assist. I've got it to where basically if you hover over any kind of like one of these settings here, the text would actually grow when you just hover over it, so it lets you know which one it actually is that you're hovering over, and then you click on it, and then one of these modals will come up, and you know, it'll give you the option of what you want to do, and so, you know, it took a long time to put all this together. And so like when you want to kind of do all your kind of stuff in the options, you kind of come over to the quick play, which will take you over to here, which you'll select your character of which one you want to play. At the moment, you know, I didn't really have enough time to kind of make this a fully fleshed out kind of like prototype with everything that I wanted, because, you know, during these kind of like projects, you only get so long to actually put together a prototype, and so I didn't have enough time to kind of like fill the whole screen with all these different characters and give them all the different kind of like attributes and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I still think that my idea is very weak, and it probably could need like several different changes as to what the kind of a game would actually be. But, you know, for a short period of time, I think I did a pretty good job of creating a pretty, you know, unique, colourful game that I think would be kind of fun to play. You know, I didn't want to just create a game that I didn't think would be, you know, I didn't think that I would like. You know, I wanted a game that I think I would like and I would want to play. And you know, I worked really hard on this, and I got a lot of feedback from a lot of the tutors, and I think I created something pretty amazing here. I think I did. You know, I'm a pretty creative person, and I think coming to a new kind of like creative field like this, you're going to learn a lot of different things, and you're going to mess up a lot of things. And I definitely messed up a lot of things, and I still have a lot to learn. But I really enjoyed doing this course. As you can see, there's a lot of screens here, so I just want to go through all of them in the prototype. But I just wanted to show you just how many screens make up just like one like prototype. There's loads of these here, over 100 easily. And the different types of screens here, from kind of like item menu screens to loading screens to menu screens to kind of like a initial screen here, like and then kind of like a HUD menu here, and all this kind of stuff. So I did a lot of work on this project. So if I just go up here, and you can see my kind of like prototype menu here. You can see kind of like the click to continue. I even made like a fake game company, you know, Spectrum Games, just to make it be as authentic as possible. So if I just kind of like click to continue, and I'll shift over and I'll show you all the different kind of menus here. One of the main feedback that I got from a tutor was that I had a previous screen where I would you know, I have this really colourful kind of like opening screen here, and they were like, oh yeah, this is amazing. But when you kind of like click to continue, and this was like the updated image for the like main menu screen. I had one that was like really washed out, and it didn't really match with the other ones, and I thought, oh right, okay, so I've got to keep the same kind of continuity, and I've got to kind of keep that same level of kind of like brightness and colourfulness and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of updated it, and this is the final project. So, you know, judge it how you will, you know, destroy it in the comments if you really want to. I'm just trying to show off what I did in like those 5 months, you know, coming from somebody that has literally no experience in UI or UX, kind of like any of that kind of stuff. And I think I'm pretty proud of myself. But you click to continue, and you go to the kind of like menu screen. You've got like load game, new game, quick play, options, and you can quit. And obviously you saw before, if you click quit, it'll take you back to the home screen. Click to continue, you know, here. I really wanted to make this both keyboard and mouse and controller accessible, but I had a lot of trouble kind of like getting the controller to work with the keyboard and mouse as well, you know, having both of them. So I kind of ended up unfortunately dropping the controller compatibility. I would have loved to keep that, but it was just getting really confusing, and there was a load of different screens, and I was probably not doing it the right way. And you know, I chose to work in Figma because before the actual course started, I was practicing like crazy for like 2 weeks in Figma, and because I thought it was going to be more like website based, you know, not kind of to do with games. I mean, I knew it had to do with games because, you know, UI UX is tied to games, but I thought it was going to be more like kind of like websites as well. So because you might be thinking, well, why didn't I just use kind of like what's it called, the Adobe one, I can't remember at the moment, in the moment, but you know, I tried that one, and it just wasn't doing it for me. I just couldn't figure out. There was a lot of different problems with it, and it was just really frustrating. So I didn't really want to use it. But anyway, I digress. If you go up here and you click Load Game, it'll take you to your save data page, where you can click like your save data, and if you hover over it, you can, you know, you can click you know, your save data of you know, where you've made your profile. So obviously I kind of created a fake profile, which is a unique grackle, and I just use kind of like a random username generator, and I'm always trying to keep the kind of like brightness in the background here, while, you know, not making it too washed out. So you've got like these save datas. You won't be able to click on these because there's no save data there. So if you maybe wanted a different profile, you know, you could click on that. You know, if I click back arrow, it'll take you back here. If you click new game, it'll take here, and you can create a new profile. If I click back, you can go to quick play, go to options. Okay, so if I just go to options here, you can see you've got audio, subtitles, brightness, camera assist, color blind mode, and motion sickness assist. I probably didn't do this correctly. I probably could have done this could do this much better if I had way more time to work on it. But you know, 5 months really isn't that long. You know, again, like I said, coming from somebody with no experience at all, I think I've done pretty well. So if you just click to your, come to your audio sections, and you're like, alright, I'm going to change the volume of my game. You see, you got your master volume, your music volume, your sound effect volume, and then you got your defaults. At the moment, I haven't gotten this to kind of like slide around. You know, this is still just a prototype. And I don't really plan on making this a full game, because that would take so much longer to do, and you know, I'm only one person, and I want to do a lot of different types of stuff on this channel, a lot of different kind of creative projects, and you know, I just don't have the skills necessary at the moment to do any of this kind of stuff, and things weren't just going very well. So unfortunately, you can't slide these around. Maybe if anybody is way more adept at using Figma, maybe they could help me, or maybe, you know, they could give me some advice on maybe how I could get this to work. But yeah, it's just kind of like aesthetics at the moment. But you know, if this was a real game, you know, you could slide your master volume to wherever you wanted, and you know, this maybe a value would pop up here, and it would change. Same with like the music volume. There'd be music in the game. You know, sound effect volume, you know, the sound effects in the game, you could just kind of slide that around. And if you wanted just to put them back to where they were, you just click the default button, and it would take you back. So you click X, it'll come out of that modal, and it'll bring you back to the menu. Subtitles, again, under the modal, you've got subtitles that are on and off. It just kind of fades there. If you want to change the language, I put the default language to English, as that's the most common. If I click this, a little drop down menu will come down, and you can select either English or French. I hadn't actually kind of done it yet, so where you could click German, but if you click French, it'll actually change to a French modal. And if you click X here, it'll take you to a French kind of like options and accessibility menu. But if I just kind of come out of that, because not all of these kind of stuff is figured out. Like I said, I had 5 months to kind of like do all this kind of stuff, and so I was working really hard on it, and I wanted at least some kind of like language change. So that's kind of like the subtitles. Brightness is just kind of like the audio one, where you've got these sliders. Again, it's not finalized, but you know, you if this was a final game, you could change like the screen brightness, the saturation, the hue, and then a default, you know, kind of like how you can do it on the Switch. I kind of wanted that, so we just kind of click X out on that. You've got a camera assist, so this is kind of like screen shakes, camera movement. Screen shakes are pretty obvious, you know. If you kind of like crash into another player, if you crash into an obstacle in this kind of like almost endless ocean, you know, you would have the screen would shake, and I know a lot of people have a lot of motion sickness, so I thought, you know, just make it a separate option so you can kind of click off the screen shake. Hear that in the background, sorry about that. And then obviously you've got like camera movement, so you could have it auto, you could have it on auto, so like whenever you'd be moving around with your character, you could the camera would just move by itself, you know. But if you wanted to move the camera itself, kind of almost like tank controls, you could do that if you really wanted to. I wanted to include that option there just in case somebody wanted that. So you just X out of that. You got colorblind mode. I know color blindness is really common, and we even had a person that works actually in the game industry who actually had color blindness and told us about it and introduced us to all these different types of color blindness, from, you know, protanopia, deuteranopia, tritanopia, and monochromacy, and doing more research into that. You know, it's a really big problem, so I wanted to include a colorblind mode for anybody that would potentially want to play the game. They could, you know, if they had any of these forms of color blindness, they could do that, and then it would automatically update and change, so, you know, the colors wouldn't be all jumbled and different for them, and they could still play the game normally, which they wanted. Just to preface, you know, like all of these kind of like little icons on here, I didn't take them from anywhere. I made them all, you know, right in Figma as well, as I didn't want to deal with any kind of like plagiarism kind of things, because I knew you on the course you could kind of like take different things from online, you know, like maybe different assets from online, but and put them into your kind of like prototype. But I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to create them all myself. So the backgrounds, the titles, the modals, the little icons, the even stuff like in the background there, I did all that. I know it took way more like effort, and it took a lot out of me, but I just wanted to do that. But yeah, colorblind mode, I hope, you know, I wanted to do that. And you know, it's like a common options and accessibility menu. Maybe I should have made the options and accessibility a separate, kind of like two separate screens, maybe, you know, like an accessibilities menu just for accessibility things, and then an options menu for kind of more common options. Maybe you made it one screen, I don't know, let me know your thoughts and stuff. And then a motion sickness assist mode. Again, these little like icons I put there were pretty funny, and I just wanted to do that. You could turn the motion sickness on and off if you really wanted it off. You know, nice to have that option. So you can you do all your like your options and accessibilities menu things, and you come back over it, and it's all changed, right? And you're like, okay, now I really want to get into a game. So you click quick play, and it'll shift over to here, and you have this blank character selection stage. And you kind of click on, at the moment I've only got one character here, but ideally if this is a final game, you know, you'd have all these different kind of characters, or maybe you could click on this and it'll bring up a little menu saying unlock this character for so many points. But you kind of click on your character and it'll bring them up here. So this is the Brute, you know, it's got quite a lot of muscle, so he's got quite a lot of health, a lot of defense, but he's not very fast. And you're like, okay, you can either go on to play a game with this character, or you can upgrade this character. So if you want to upgrade it, you click upgrade, which will take you to an upgrades menu. Pretty obvious. So you can upgrade the character's skills, the weapons that they wield, or my unique thing in my game is called charms. And basically these are kind of like protective or offensive or defensive or special charms that can give you maybe an edge in the game. So if I click on the skills, you know, it'll take you to a skills page, and these kind of like banners here will tell you kind of like what page you're on, so you don't get confused and it doesn't look like just the same page. Because that was a good piece of advice that I got from a tutor, was that a lot of these kind of like menu or option screens looked very similar or the same, and they couldn't tell whether I'd actually changed the screen, and they'd think it was some sort of glitch. So I did something to kind of like update that, and this is the update. I've got kind of like little notches down here, so you'd be able to kind of like click on these, and you'd be able to go to a different screen. They have up to 3 different screens of kind of like physical abilities, defensive skills, and special skills. Got like the icons here and even some text there, so you don't just have to run with the icon. You're like, what the hell is that? And you got these different kind of like physical skills, and which looks really cool. And the change color, and you've got like a little item box here, or well, just kind of like a information box, sorry, to tell you like what this attack is. Maybe I could have done it better where like on these ones that are locked, you could have kind of like click on there and unlocked up for a certain amount of points. Maybe it would have made for a better, more immersive kind of prototype. But once you've finished all this kind of stuff, you can come out of here. You can go into the weapons, and these are kind of like the different weapons you could have. So you got like blunt force weapons, slashing weapons, and explosive weapons, just to make the game a little bit more exciting. Again, these like little circles down here, so you can kind of go to like a next page, and you have all these different kind of like weapons, and you can unlock more of them, and you can have a lot of different kind of combinations, a lot of different characters. So you got like a stick for like a basic weapon, and it keeps getting upgraded. So like you got like a metal bat, you got like a sledgehammer or a warhammer. You got like slashing weapons, so like a small dagger, and this would maybe get upgraded to kind of like a long sword, or kind of like an axe maybe, or something like that, to cause like bleed damage to opponents and make them fall off their surfboards. And you got like explosive damage, so like small bombs, bigger bombs, dynamite, that kind of stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. So you come out with that, and you're like, oh, I'm done finishing with my weapons. So you go off to your charms, and you're like, okay, so you've got offensive charms, defensive charms, and special charms. And so these kind of charms will they act as like special abilities. They give you like get like some offensive ones and defensive ones and special ones. So maybe some of the special ones could be like shark attack, and you can summon like a horde of great white sharks to attack the enemies or something like that. And maybe in kind of like a free-for-all mode or something like that. But at the moment I only had time to make one kind of like type of charm, so I went for like these barrier charms that basically block certain amount of attacks. So if somebody tries to hit you with a kind of like shield up, that shield will take the damage instead of you, basically, and you can kind of like do that. So you come back out of this, you come back out of that, and you've finished upgrading, and you want to check your inventory of what you have, right? And you want to pick which kind of like weapon you want in your inventory to start a game with. So you got all these different kind of ones of the ones that you own. So I just kind of picked it for this character, and you can click on any one of these, and it'll tell you exactly what it is, which is pretty handy, I think. And then you got like healing here, like simple medkit, and then obviously you got your charms down here again. Yeah, so that's a pretty quick rundown of like the upgrade and inventory items. So you're like, okay, I've finished doing that. I've picked my character. I've upgraded the skills that I wanted. I've checked my inventory of what I've actually got, so that I've got access to in the game. You can click that arrow and you go ahead, and you're like, okay, which stage do I want to play? Do I want to go straight for a tutorial? Maybe I need a little bit of a refresher, or do I want to go straight into a game? And here these will all be different kind of stages. Initially I wanted it to be like different kind of beaches all around the world, like Miami Beach, and maybe kind of like some in like the Caribbean beaches and stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool, just a different backdrop for different games. You could have different kind of like random game events and stuff. And you're like, I don't really want to go to Beginner's Beach, I want to refresh the tutorial stage. So you select the tutorial stage, and it'll take you to a loading screen. And you actually have to, in this prototype, wait real time for this to actually load. And I've kind of made this little spinning animation here that to try and emulate a real loading screen as much as possible. So we're just kind of waiting for this to kind of like load. And here we are in the tutorial stage. So if you needed a reminder, you could come to the tutorial stage, and hey there, welcome to the world of Wave Riders. So you can skip that tutorial if you don't want to. but you know, since we're in the tutorial stage here, I might as well show it off. So you know, he goes on to say, you know, to get started with the tutorial, if you look to the top left of the screen, you'll find your health and stamina. So yes, in this game you have like a health bar and a stamina bar. So if you're kind of surfing around, you've got your health pool and you've got your green stamina bar. Pretty standard kind of stuff for a game. You know, kind of like in Zelda, you got your hearts and your stamina wheel, kind of stuff like that. So you know, you go along. It says to the top right of the screen, you'll find the time left in the match as well as your total score so far. So yes, up here, I made this kind of like stopwatch icon, and it'll have the time ticking down to the end of the match. So maybe have like a 5-minute match, and that'll be ticking down. Maybe this will be kind of like turning around maybe, and you've got your total score up here to show you how much score you've racked up in this game so far. And then you've got like to the bottom left of the screen, you'll find all of the keyboard controls. So WASD to move and space to accelerate. So like I said, this is keyboard compatible. So you know, if you press WASD, you can move your character around the kind of like this endless ocean, and then if you press space, you can actually like accelerate to catch up to players, and you can smash them with whatever weapon you've got, which I think is pretty cool. And then on your right here, you've got like your weapons, healing, and charms. You can access anytime during a match, and you can click finish, and then you're in the HUD here, the heads-up display. Initially, I had these kind of like icons here, really big on the screen, and again, another tutor's advice was that this takes up so much real estate on the screen, and you want to reduce that as much as possible so it's not as irritating for players. And so I kind of reduced it right down until you got to this size here, which I think is reasonably comfortable. You know, it's not too big, but it's also not too small in case people have kind of like eyesight issues. The whole background here and the character in place, I designed all myself again. I drew the background in Photoshop, kind of made this kind of like wave here just to try and simulate what the game would actually look like. And you know, if you press W, you know, you can do that. So when you're like moving around the game, it'll do that. If you press space, you know, that'll do that. And then here, you know, you got your weapons. You can switch to any time during a match. Here you got your healing, so that'll be up there. You got like one healing thing, and then you click that, and then that'll come to 0. Here you can access your charms anytime, so you've got this kind of like 1 barrier charm. And then here you've got your weapons. You can click at any time you want to switch to like the war hammer or switch to the bombs or something like that. But at the moment, I just give the character the metal bat, and you can kind of like hold down on the mouse to kind of like charge up this, and you know, you can smash other opponents, which I think is pretty cool. If you press P, you can bring up the pause menu. So you've got like a resume, leaderboards, control reminder, and then exit to the main menu. So if you click resume, it'll take you back to the HUD. If you press it again, you can go to the leaderboards controls reminder. If you know, somehow forget how the game plays, you can click the controls reminder, and it'll take you to this page. And I spent so goddamn long replicating this keyboard, which is actually the keyboard that I actually use at home. I thought that was the best example, and I just kind of like copied it, made it all in Figma, and then brought it into my final file, and then kind of like labeled it, you know, WASD to move, P to pause, space to accelerate. You can kind of come back out of there. So you press P. If you want to look at the leaderboards, you know, it'll take you to the leaderboards page. You know, you've got your kind of like ID here. You've got like your rank, online ID, and total score. You've got your global and local rankings, which do actually change, which I again did all here. And you've even got like a find me option here. So if you kind of like are really far down, maybe I'll have like maybe I could have had like a little arrow icon where you can kind of like scroll, or kind of like a scroll bar where you can scroll all the way down here. And maybe you're like, I don't know, like 100th in here and you don't want to scroll all the way down. You can basically click the find me option, and it would, you know, you just put in your username and it will scroll all the way instantly to find where you are. Now, you also got a friends only option to if you're in a group and you want to see how you did in your group of friends as well. Just like you and your friend group, you can click that and it'll show you. And if you click on your player profile here, you see the icon changes. If you click on there, it'll take you to your player profile, and you can see how much points you've earned overall, how much time you've played the game, how many in-game kills you have, how many stages you've unlocked, and achievements earned. So I thought that was pretty cool. If you come back out of here and brings you back to the HUD, if you press P, and you're like, okay, I'm finished with the game now. I want to exit the menu. I want to exit out of here and go back to the beginning. So you click exit to menu, and it'll take you back to the main menu, which you can go back to a quick play, or you can click like a new game. I originally wanted this to have like a story mode as well. That's why you can kind of like load games. So you can go through like the game's story. But basically, yep, that's my Wave Riders project that took me 5 months to complete. Let me know what you guys think of this project. Again, this is a different type of video, me showing off something that I'd never done before, and I just really wanted to show you, and I was really excited about it that I'd finally finished it and I could finally show it off. And let me know what you guys think of my idea for this game in the comments. Do you think it's a good idea for a game? Do you think it's trash? Do you think that I could have done a lot better? If you are a UI or UX designer, what do you think of my idea? What could I have done a lot better? You know, I'm all open to that kind of stuff. But if you guys did like this episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share all that stuff around, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my work around. I'll see you next time.